So it's like 6 o'clock, and these mics are working really good because I'm not really all up on the mic or anything. So thanks to Public Relations and Technology Services for some strong and very powerful microphones. They can hear me over in Lithonia, Georgia.
I just got a text.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out this evening. Today is Tuesday, October the 18th of 2022, and we're gathered here in the auditorium, 903 Main Street in the heart of Old Town Conyers. And Commissioners, we're calling our meeting to order. We will have the presentation of the 2023 proposed budget by Executive Director Mark Lewis.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Director Lewis, you pulled that mic like you was about to sing. I thought you was going to...
That will not be happening today.
It is getting close to Halloween.
Yes, as the Chair said, we will have FY23 proposed budget. Thank you. In developing the budget this year, we keep the vision of Rockdale County foremost. Rockdale is a perfectly positioned community with a rock-solid approach dedicated to excellence in customer service, quality of life, and global economic development. We achieve that through the following values and objectives: having an educated workforce, thriving businesses, sustainability through innovative and forward thinking, and a community with suitable quality of life. Next slide, please. For this presentation, we'll have the budget process and calendar. We'll go through some budget highlights. We'll have a budget overview, some budget analysis, as well as a review of the key dates. Next slide, please. Our FY23 budget process began in June 30th. We had our budget kickoff. In August, we did our budget work sessions from August 9th to the 11th. We had our public hearings, or we have our public hearing this evening, October 18th. The first reading of the budget will take place November 8th, and the board adoption is December 13th. Next slide, please. Some of the budget highlights include the following. Funding for the new courthouse was approved. Our E911 moves into a new building. More funded providing to public safety. A new division, Community Improvement Team, was created to help keep Rockdale County clean. Next slide. So if we look at our expenditures for FY23 amounted to $93.98 million. 66% of that is salaries and benefits, which comes to $61.59 million. Our purchase and contracted services is 21% of the budget at $19.58 million. Supplies is at $7.5 million. I'm sorry, at 7.5%, which amounts to $7 million. And our indirect cost comes to is 5.5% of the budget. Next slide, please. Operating budget by county services. The board has, once again, the budget represents keeping public safety a priority in Rockdale County, and 47.9% of the budget is dedicated toward public safety. Our general government services is 30% of our budget. Court services is 10.8% of our budget. Cultural and recreation at $6.87 million represents 7.4% of the budget, and transportation comes in at 3.9% of the budget. So public safety includes the following areas: the Sheriff's Office, Fire Rescue, E911, EMA, EMS, Coroner, and Animal Services. Our Sheriff's Office at $27.66 million represents 58% of the public safety budget. Our Fire and Rescue at 14.89% represents 31% of the budget. EMA comes in at 6%, and EMS at 2% of the budget. The total for public safety comes in at $47.36 million. So a three-year trend analysis for our public safety shows the following. In FY21, our actual budget spent on public safety was $42.42 million. In 22, with our amended budget, came in at $43.84 million. And in the proposed budget here for FY23, it's coming in at $47.36 million. Our general government budget includes the following top three areas: finance at $7.13 million, general services at $6.39 million, and technology services at $4.58 million. They represent 24.9%, 22.2%, and 15.9% respectively of the general government budget. Next slide, please. A three-year trend of all the areas within general government shows that in FY21, our actual cost came to $24.32 million. In 22, our amended budget came in at $25.68. And the proposed budget for FY23 comes in at $28.69 million. Our next area is court services. In court services, our clerk of court comes in at $2.64 million, representing 27% of the budget. And our district attorney at $2.26 million represents 23% of the budget. Juvenile court at $1.32 million represents 13% of the budget. Next slide, please. So a three-year trend analysis for the court services budget represents the following. In FY21, $8.3 million were actually spent. In 22, $10.03 million was an amended budget for FY22. And in the proposed budget for FY23, we're looking at $10.06 million. Our cultural and recreation includes the following areas: Parks and Rec, senior services, and libraries. Parks and Rec comes in at $4.22 million, which represents 62% of the budget for cultural and recreation. And senior services comes in at $1.54 million, which represents 22% of the budget, with the libraries coming in at 16%. A three-year trend analysis for our cultural and recreation budget shows that in FY21, we spent $4.32 million. In FY22, our amended budget came in at $6.96 million. And in FY23, we came in at 6.88, proposed budget is 6.88 million. I want to point out also that in FY21, Parks and Recreation wasn't fully staffed because of COVID, and that's a difference, and a large difference in the numbers between 21 to 22 and 23. Our transportation budget. Transportation is just our transportation department. In FY21, we were at $2.32 million. In FY22, our amended budget came in at $3.74. And our proposed budget for FY23 comes in at $3.63 million. Next slide, please. So our general fund and our fund balance shows the following. Our revenues for FY19 was $58.78 million. Our FY20 is $78.85 million. FY21 is $79.04, and FY22 at $90.24. One of the things I do want to make sure everyone, point out to everyone is a millage rate associated with the 4-year trend. At FY19, it was at 20.19, took a rollback rate in 20 to bring it into 18.016. A rollback rate again in FY21 is 16.69, and in FY22 it was 18.69. Going forward, our events are as follows. This is a public hearing on the 18th. Our first reading again is on November 8th. And in December, we have the second reading and the adoption of the appropriation ordinance on December 13th. Any questions?
Commissioners, any questions for Executive Director Lewis regarding his budget proposal for 2023? Thank you, Director Lewis.
Thank you.
At this time, Director Rutledge, I believe we're moving into public comment.
Yes, tonight we're moving to public comment, and this is a public hearing, so anybody who wishes to speak tonight, it'll be 3 minutes per speaker relative to the budget. So at this time, I don't have any red cards, but if anyone wishes to speak.
I think Director Mims is collecting a red card or two. Thank you very much, and we'll call up our first speaker for tonight. It's none other than our friend, Ms. Charlotte Gellert. Come on up, Ms. Gellert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I missed part of the presentation, but I thought it saw that the 2022 budget was 90 million and something, but at the millage rate hearing, it showed the 2022 revenues is 93,476,000. The tentative proposal for 2023, 93,977,000. I thought I saw a 90 million up there for, was that 2022 or 2023? I apologize for missing part of the presentation. I will watch it later on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillett. I also want to encourage you, if you would, before you leave tonight, you can get clarity from Executive Director Lewis. In fact, Director Lewis, don't let her leave the building without making sure you give her the clarification she's seeking. Are there any other speakers tonight? All right, Director Rutledge, we're going right on into board comment. I'll start with Commissioner Washington.
I don't have a lot of comments tonight, just because this is where we've seen a lot of this, but this is the first opportunity that really going to have to dig deep into it. And as I've said before, I normally do an analysis of the years before, maybe the year before that, and then look at what is proposed to be increased, and then ask the questions why. And we'll go from that, but I'm looking forward to getting this passed, and so we can have a prosperous and positive 2023.
Outstanding. Commissioner Williams.
So I appreciate the budget presentation, Director Lewis, and the copy of it here. As we're looking at that budget, I think the first thing that stands out is that our revenue is going up, so are our expenses. Mm-hmm. And so Like Commissioner Washington, I like to go line by line through everything. We had a lot of budget presentations in August from the different directors who lined out requests for additional funds and their rationale for doing that. So, I'll have to go back and look back through that again and just see where we are.
Very good. Go right ahead, Commissioner.
One of the things that I like is the fact that the budget is online. And there have been people that have already done open records requests or asked for clarification in some of the things. And I actually like to see that because at least people are asking the questions. They're trying to get clarity on, why is this expense this? And it may not have been, it may have been more this year than it was last year. So why are we doing this? And I think that's a healthy debate. And I think it's healthy for people to go through, look at the budget, do your own analysis, ask your own questions, and I'm sure that any of the department heads can justify everything, every dime that they put in this budget.
All right. Well, listen, I want to just say thank you to the Voices of Rockdale for staying on the scene and coming out and watching all of our budget presentations, and this is the beginning of those rounds. Certainly, I want to remind Ms. Gillett to be sure and get with Executive Director Lewis as we close out this meeting. I also want to take this opportunity to remind everybody today is the second day of early voting. If you haven't voted already, make sure you make your ways to the polls. Executive Director Rutledge, is there any need for executive session on this cool, crispy Tuesday evening?
No, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, thank you for coming out. This meeting is adjourned.